Now, the point is, of course, not all apps, actually most apps, have multiple pages, right? So you have a home page, like a landing page, and then you have a login page where your user puts their credentials, and then you have a dashboard, and then you have a form, and then you have lists, and you have multiple pages in your app, right? Now, so far the template that we were using by the Academy had a single page, the home page, right? But in reality, this is just for learning purposes, right? In reality, when you build an app, a web application, that web application will have multiple pages, right? You can see it even in YouTube. If you go to the YouTube front page, what you see is a list. But if you open a video, then that video is a different page, right? So the page have different content, it have different purposes. The same happens when you open, like, for example, I don't know, any application on the web. You have a login page, and then you have a reminder or a settings page. You have a bunch of pages, bunch of different pages. So when we want to create this type of multiple pages in React, we need to use something called routing. So routing is essentially deciding, because remember, when we are working with a web application, in a web application, we make some domain, right, have your app. So for example, your app is hosted in myapp.com, right? So when you open that website, your page is the one that shows. But if you check the URL, the URLs are also formed by something called the path, right? So anything that goes after the domain is the path, right? Now the path is divided in several parts. Usually, everything that is separated by slash, it will be right. It could be something like, for example, accounts new, right? Or something like settings, right? If you want to go to the settings page, or dashboard, if you want to go to the dashboard page, or if you want to open a certain, I don't know, transaction, it will be something like transaction slash, and then you have some idea of the transaction, right? That thing is like the path, and it's similar to the path of your of a file, of a folder, right? If you think about it, it's like the path in a folder. Okay, so this section over here is what we call the path. Let me put a more simple path. Let's say call path. Right? So we have this section here is what we call the path, or path name. This section here we call domain. And this section here is what we call protocol. Right? Now, some other, these sections are pretty much mandatory. That means that any URL that you write will have these three sections. It will have a protocol, it will have a domain, and it will have a path name. There are other elements in this URL that are optional. Let me give you a couple. For example, you can have a domain with user and password at myapp.com, right? As you can see here, this is pretty uncommon, but it's part of the it's part of the standard, or the definition of what a URL is. This is the out part, right? You can specify the user and password directly in the URL. Of course, this is not common. You will never see something like this in real life websites. In here, do you think we still have a path in that URL that I just showed below, what will be the path? It will be that slash at the end, right? That's the path, that's the root folder. In this case, we call it root because it's the, I would say it's the first, right? Like it's the base folder. Yeah, it's the root folder. Also, you will see some things like, for example, like the port. That's also common. Well, possible, not common, right? This is the path, and you can have also here the port. Sometimes you will see that. Actually, when you execute in the terminal, you can open, because we're using code spaces, we don't see that, but if you're running all your projects locally, the URL that you will use for opening them most of the time is something like this: localhost 3000 or 8080 slash, right? Same thing, you have a protocol, you have a domain. In this case, the domain is your own computer. Localhost is always points to the same computer, and you have a port. And what's the path? Slash. Now, routing only handles from the path and to the right. With routing, you can, especially in React, you cannot control what port are you accessing, there's nothing related to that. By routing, we only refer to the path name. The path name is whatever comes after the path name, and what comes after the path name is the query string. Let me put an example: myapp.com path, and you will see like a question mark in the URL, right? After that question mark, everything that comes is a combination of key value separated by ampersands. So key 2 equals value 2, right? So in this URL, this is the path, and we will call this the query, and this is the path. Okay? Query path. Now, the path, usually we use it to point to a different page. So in React, every path can be mapped to a different component, to a different page, right? Because remember, every page in React is also a component. In the template that we have in the Academy, it was a single page, so we didn't even bother about routing because everything was routed to home. In other frameworks, we can have different paths pointing to different components. Okay? And for every path, we can also get the query part of the URL. And with the query part, we can control what type of data we will show in that path, right? Or we can filter the information in that component. For example, you have a path, and I will stop showing the whole URL. I will start focusing on the path. If I have a URL that has a path like this, accounts or users, right? I will assume that this is a page. This will point to a component that has a list of users. With all, emails, etc., all the information. Now, if this page wants to have a button at the bottom, let's say to add a new user, right? This button might send the user to a new page, and this page will have probably a form to create user, right? With all the inputs and all the things for a form. But you see where I'm going here is that every path will have its own content. And sometimes it's kind of like the standard, right? You have paths for listings, you have paths for creating new users. For example, if I have a list of users and I decide to, if I have a user here and I want to open that information, I might send this link, I might send this user to a page /user/ and I will put the user ID here, right, in the URL. And that will be a page that has the full details of that user. Right? So every URL, every path will point to a different component. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So you have a path, and that path will go to a component. Because remember, everything in React is a component. So every page, even every page is a component as well. Okay? So that's how we do routing. Now, implementations, I mean, this is routing as a global concept, right? And it's not exclusive from React. All frameworks have some type of routing. Angular has routing. If you're building a Vue application, it has routing. React, of course, has routing. Now, React by itself doesn't provide a routing library, right? It doesn't care about routing. The only problem for React is, what's the data? Run this function, and I will render the visual for the data, right? So React doesn't care about pages and that type of thing. Now, for some time, this was the default solution for routing, React Router. This was a package, a JavaScript package, was created by some engineers, and it was kind of like the de facto way of creating routing, right? So you say, okay, this is the URL. When this URL is in the browser, I will open that component, right? Pretty simple. And you can do some linking between one page and the other. Everything was really easy. Now, React Router is not discontinuing, but the team behind it just say, okay, we're tired of building this, and they decided to build Remix. Remix is a framework. Let me see if I can. I'm using my phone, the 30 in my phone. I think it's a little bit slow, but again, so we have router. Again, for some time, but that was the default. The problem with React Router now is that even the people that created React Router are no longer using React Router, so it's kind of like deprecated or a little bit obsolete, right? Now, the Academy had that in the content. And if you go to the lesson, you will see content referring to React Router. Now, we're not going to use React Routing in this program because we're going to use this, nextjs. So nextjs is a framework. It's a React framework. By the way, Remix is another React framework, right? So nextjs is a React framework. It's built by a company in San Francisco as well. They're really good at React. They've been building this for a long time, actually probably over 7 years. The latest version is version 14, right? And they have kind of like the best talent in terms of React. And it was even a cliche because for some time they were hiring like the main people in React, they were hiring those guys. So it was basically a team of superstars building this framework, right? Even Google contribute to the framework at some point. And Next.js comes with their own routing solution. And this is what we're going to use, right? And now, why Next.js is because, and by the way, this is Next.js. Am I even connected? Oh, that's why. I don't think I'm connected. Okay, let me try another network. Do you have Wi-Fi here, or do you have network, internet? No, I'm.
Yeah.
You have?
It's the open.
Open, yeah, MDC open. I don't.
Next.js by Vercel.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that one. I know what's going on. Remove. Okay. Okay, so this is Remix. So it's a framework. It's good. It's not actually not bad. But we're going to use this Next.js. Now the reason behind Next.js is because for every 10 companies hiring for React devs, there's 8 using Next.js, literally, right? And it's kind of like the only one that have, like, it's kind of like the de facto way of creating React apps. Even if you go to the React dev documentation, they will tell you somewhere use one of these two, right? For some time, React had their own framework because I would say 7 years ago or 6 years ago, it was really hard to start a new React application. So you have a lot of templates going around, right? And everybody build their own template. But once you use a template, you cannot go to another different template. So eventually, these frameworks emerged, like the clear winners, and even React dropped their own framework. So they have one called Create React App, CRA. And they even removed that because it was no longer necessary when they had things like Next.js or Remix going around, right? So we're going to use Next.js. It's by this company, Vercel. Vercel. It's really good. And it's pretty popular, actually. Let me show you who's going to use it, who's using it. So you can see here pretty much everybody, right? Washington Post, Sonos, Stripe, and Nike, OpenAI, Spotify, Cloud. Cloud is the other. Everybody, right? You see how many companies here. So it's like, why bother, right? My company uses it. My previous company uses it, and my other previous company uses it. So I've been going from company to company. The reason behind it is because I have the same skill set, right? I don't have to be trained in a new code base or a new framework. I already have the knowledge, right? So this is what we're going to use in the program. And the other thing is, it's really nice and really easy to work with. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a Next.js application today from scratch, right? And we're going to build it in a way that will serve as a template for your next projects, right? So we're going to build a template today. Instead of using the Academy's template, we're going to use a template. And that template will have pretty much everything we need. Every time you create a new project, you basically say, okay, get my template, create a new project, or create a new repo based on that template. And that will be a whole application already built. Cool? So that's routing. And what we're going to learn today is essentially how to do routing with Next.js. Okay, now Next.js has two routing solutions. Next.js has, so routing in Next.js has two solutions. One is page router and app router. Okay, now the page router was the first router that they have. It was really super simple. It was basically a folder called pages, right? So you have a folder in your project called pages. Every file that you put there was a page. And the index, in the special case was index, was the root, right? So you want to create a page called about, right? Every website has an about page. You will create a page called like this, about.jsx. And that's it. That was a page, right? Now, you can also do /about and then create an index.jsx inside. That would be essentially the same, right? So you can create pages with the name that you want to use, or you can create a folder, and inside that folder create the index.jsx, and that will be exactly the same. That means that I will have in my application I will have a page, that's the root page, and I will also have a /about page. The /about page will be essentially going to this file, the index.jsx, and the root will go to that index file, right? So that was the page router. It was really simple to use. It was kind of like using PHP from 20 years ago, right? Exactly the same concept, right? Except that they will JSX files and that will React component. That's all. A lot of applications still use this page router. Actually, my company still uses this because the app was created 2 years ago, probably 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, the app router didn't exist, right? The second solution that Next.js provides is app router. Now, the app router works a little bit different. In the app router, you have a folder called app, right? And in that folder, you can have as many folders that you want, right? And in every folder, you need to have a layout.jsx and a page.jsx, right? Now the layout was like the root page, like the framework for the page, right? And the page is actually the content of the page. So for example, if you want to have a root, a /about, and a login page, and a let's say dashboard, /settings, right? I want to have all these pages. In the app router, I will have a folder called app. Of course, I always have the app folder. Inside the app folder, I will have an about folder. Inside, we'll have the login folder and the dashboard folder, right? Now, inside the about, I need page.jsx. Inside the login, I will have page.jsx. And inside dashboard, I didn't say that I needed dashboard. I only said dashboard settings. Technically, I should have also a dashboard, right? Dashboard, and then dashboard settings. So 2 pages there. So inside dashboard, I will also have page.jsx. And then because I have the settings path, I will have a settings folder. And then inside the settings folder, I will have the page.jsx for the settings. You see? I think I like that better because you know that every folder is a page. It's more organized, exactly. In the other one, it's kind of hard to understand that sometimes a page can be a file or can be a folder, right? This is the problem with page router. Now with the app router, you always know every folder is a page. Yeah, go ahead. Now, what about the layout? That's the nice part of is that you just need one at the root level. Every page inside will use that layout, and we will see what that layout means, right? Now, the layout is just how the page is laid out, right? And the thing is that if some page inside has a different layout, for example, the login page is usually different, right? If I have a different layout for the login page, I can come here and say, okay, you will have your own layout. So you will not use the default layout of the page. That was impossible with the pages router. Now with the app router, you can do that type of thing, right? You can have a different organization of your layout. So this is basically the router that we're going to use, the app router. Of course, there are more complex scenarios here, and it's usually what happens when I have a URL that looks something like this. Let's say I have account / like this, right? That means that the numeric part is dynamic. How can I add that to the path? Should I add all the possible numbers as folders? No. The way we do that is having app and then have something like this. A folder with square brackets. That this is very uncommon to see a file with square brackets, right? But if you put a folder, with square brackets and some ID inside, some label identifier, then you can create a page, and this page will be, sorry, 1 second. I need to add the account, and then inside account we need to add this, and then inside this, right? Because
account needs a page also.
no, but if you don't have a page there, that's the other part, right? If you don't have a page / account, then you don't put anything inside. It will only work if you put a / account / something. That something could be anything, right? Could be a number, it could be a text, it doesn't matter. It will be stored in that ID, and we can get it in the page using a special hook. There is a use param hook that will give us anything from the URL that we want, right? So we can customize that page accordingly. So that's how dynamic, this is what we call dynamic, the dynamic path. Now, another nice thing about the app router is that we have a lot of different pages. There's actually a loading page. There is an error page, right? So if the page fails, instead of rendering something weird, we can just render that error page, right? And it's per path, per route, right? So every route can have a different error page. We also have something called template, and I don't know what's the purpose of this, but it's still there. And we have one special called route. And this is an API. So we can merge pages with API calls, and that's pretty awesome, in the same framework. So basically we can create an app that has pages, but also have endpoints, like an API, right? Inside this route file, you can see in the documentation, you can create something like this, sport function get, or function post, and have the request. And basically this is an API that you can make a call. Yes?
When you say error, not the general HTTP.
No.
Error
It's a rendering error. No, it's a
within the application.
Yeah, in that page. If there is an error in that page when the page is trying to load, instead of showing an error from the app from the framework or the application as a whole, you can show that error. Because remember, you can make this sorry, you can make this, because one page is inside another page, inside another page, inside another page, you can have layouts and layouts and layouts and layouts, and then the error is only one section that says error. It doesn't fail the whole page, right? Cool. So this is this is a lot to take in a single class. So I think the best way to learn it is by creating an application that has that uses nextjs with app router. Okay. Cool. So let's do it. And the steps are this. Let's go to GitHub. So go to your GitHub and let's create.
Oh, that's a big wine cup, bro.
What?
No.
It's the.
Wait, the wine? Yeah, it's the picture. It's just the way it's.
That's what you did on vacation, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm free from the classes.
Now, this one created in your own account. Don't create it in the Academy's account. You want to create projects, like final projects, etc., probably in the Academy's account. But this one you want to create it in your own account, and just give it any name. My one would be my template. Yeah, my template. Or app template. Actually, I will put a different name. Yeah, app template. I will call it app template. Now, before you hit create, just add a README. We want something in this file, in this, so mark add a README. We're creating an empty repository, right? Now, if you don't set that add README, it will create a repository that doesn't have any commits, and because it doesn't have any commits, you cannot open code spaces in it, right? And we will need code spaces. So when you create the repo, put add a README, so at least have a README. We're gonna delete it after, but at least it will have a commit, and we can use code space. Okay?
Ignore, what would you normally even use that for?
No, don't worry. Get ignore.
Yeah, like what would you, just an example out of curiosity.
So you see how we create projects that use a lot of dependencies? If we don't put that folder in get ignore, it will copy that folder to GitHub.
So like node module, you would
No
ignore
module will, yeah.
So that it doesn't download.
It doesn't add it to GitHub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And a license is just.
It will be gigabytes of dependencies, basically.
Gotcha.
So create a repo, your own account. Just give it a name. In my case, it will be app template. Let me see if you can. It's a lot easier to read. You can make it public, private, whatever you want. I guess public makes sense. And create the repo. Right? It's an empty repo. Actually has a README file. You see it there. We will delete that README file in a minute, but at least we can open code spaces now. Otherwise, we will not be able to open code spaces.
But as an active developer, you install everything on your main laptop or your?
No, my main laptop. I will not use code spaces. I only use code spaces if I don't have my laptop with me and I need to change something.
Perfect, and it's mainly Visual Studio's.
Yes.
Visual Code with
Yeah. No,
different.
it works well. If I need to do something quick, yeah, it works well. But I have everything locally in my laptop.
Right,
I don't
and
need.
Visual Code with just a bunch
Yeah,
of
exactly.
sections and stuff.
Actually, I don't use Visual Studio Code. I have it.
What do you use instead?
I use this one, WebStorm, Spade, but it's really good. It's like it works every dollar. I'm not saying that you need to use it, but it's like I don't know. It has a lot of stuff that Visual Studio doesn't provide. It's just caching. And yeah, my company pays for it. By the way, I don't pay for it. But I mean,
Who's the maker
they,
of that?
I had this argument before. It's like
Oh, it's JetBrains.
I was asking permission to buy something like this in another company, And now I don't even ask. But in another company, I was like, oh, I need to buy the license for JetBrains. That's the name of the company, JetBrains.
Yeah,
And I was like, how much? And it was like, no, it's because it's 200. It was like $200 something a year. And my manager was like, why are you asking me this? The time that you spend asking me this, and I giving you an answer, it costs more, right? Because engineers make more per hour than $200. I mean, some. I guess I'm sure that when manager was making that at the time, so it's like it's not worth it. Like the time we are arguing this, you already pay for this subscription, right?
Exactly.
So don't ask me. If you need it, just pay for it.
You can install extensions just like
Yeah, same thing. It's just that it's different. It's a little bit.
I have a JetBrains account.
Yeah, it's this.
and all that. Okay.
Same thing. It's just that it has a bunch of, and it has Copilot and Copilot chat and all the other bullshit and same thing. It's just the same thing.
I might look into that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big project. Cool. By the way, that's a React component, right? You see it there? With Tailwind? Cool. Well, let's create a code space. Got it? Okay, so we created a repo. We gave it a name. What happened? We good? Okay.
You're still recording?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah. I haven't uploaded the previous class, by the way, the state. I will load them today.
Me está pidiendo como que.
Because no lo pusiste en readme.
Oh, no.
Ahora lo que tienes que hacer es. Lo que tienes que hacer es borrarlo y crear uno nuevo. Chucha, está. Ve a settings, sí, está muy sensible.
Sí.
Shit. Baja settings. Lo tienes muy sensible, ¿sí sabes?
Sí, el problema es que no lo uso con el mouse normal.
Ya.
Por eso
Bueno,
no.
aquí. No hay forma de que. A ver, aquí en el settings.
Sí.
Tiene un danger zone y delete. Y bórralo. Delete.
Repository.
Ya, ahí tienes que poner el.
Oh,
Copia de eso mismo.
sí.
Control C.
Confirm
Control
to-
V.
¿Qué trabajo borrar eso?
Delete.
Confirm.
Mira, por suerte te salió.
Menos mal.
Ya. Créalo de nuevo.
Ajá.
Pero créalo con un readme. No.
Hay que marcar ese el readme.
Readme, sí. Para que te agregue un archivo.
Oh, yeah.
Y ponle un nombre. By the way, use a simple name. Don't get it too complicated. App template, super simple, right? All lowercase. Don't. Okay, so we should get something like this, right? Code space that doesn't have any file. Well, one file, and we want to delete that file. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Delete the readme. We don't need it. Actually, we need it deleted. It's because we're going to create stuff in that folder, and there is a tool that the nextjs package uses, and when you have a folder, the folder should be empty. So we already have a file, and that's not good. Right? All good? There? Over there at the end? All good? So here we are. We have a folder. Sorry, we have a project, no files. Actually, this file is already deleted. So we don't have any files, right? Now, if you check the folder, my folder name is app template, right? And we're going to use, what we're going to do is we're going to go a folder up to workspace, because what we want to do is to, you see, we want to use that app template folder for the tool to create. It will create your project inside that folder. So I'm in the workspaces. Wait, What? No?
We were already in that template.
I was here, right? And I did cd dot dot. So I went a folder up.
In
we
code,
wanna be
we
in
go to
workspace.
local. And
I
then,
want to be in workspaces folder. Sorry, what?
In code, we go to local instead of go to space, and then open with GitHub desktop.
No, wait. What are you talking about? No, go spaces. Go spaces, open. You got me? Yeah? Okay, so because we want to start with an empty folder, right? Now the name of the tool, if you check nextjs, right? You check the nextjs website, and it has docs. There is a folder they call installation, and you see that the command to install is this: create next app at latest. That means that it will use the latest version, and we're going to copy that command. We're going to paste it here, and that's what we're going to execute. npx space create next app at latest. npx. npx is a, you remember that we use npm, right? npm is the node package manager. Now in npm, in the package repository, in the package registry, sorry. By the way, you know what npm is, right? This is the npm register. So everything is in here. You can find nextjs here, by the way. Right? It's over there.
What do they mean by pro?
Sorry?
There are some packages that you can only get if you pay for it?
No.
Why is there a sign up for pro?
That's if you want to publish your own repos. And the pro version is that if you want to publish your repos or your packages and you want only your organization to use them, because they're private to your organization, right? You can do that as well with npm. But most packages are free, right, and open source. Now, there are packages in npm that are actually commands, right? So this package, create next app, what we are doing with this command is actually executing this package. And if you look for it, you see that this is actually a package called create next app. And it's published 2 days ago. And it basically is the easiest way to create a new Next.js application, right? So npx is a tool to execute a package directly. Treat them as an executable, right? As a application. You don't need to install it in a project to run it. No, you just run it directly. I don't want to install it. I just want to run it, right? And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to run create next app, and we are telling run the latest version of that package, right? So hit enter, and here we go. This will execute this. We say yes, and then the first step, because it's a multi-step, first step is what's the name of your project. Now you have to put exactly the name of your project, right? App, in my case, is app template. Because that's the folder that's already created, remember. If you mismatch that, then you have to start again. So the folder name is, in my case, is app template because my project name was app template, and you put whatever you name your project.
It's giving me an error.
You see it? What's the error? Okay, do it again. Yep. Oh, you put lastest, it's latest. Okay, so in my case is app template. You put another name because that's what the name you said. Now you see that it will start asking me questions, right? Next question is, do you want to use TypeScript? Yes or no? TypeScript is a language similar to JavaScript, but it has types. So if you work with a different language like Basic or Java or C or .NET, any of those static type language, TypeScript is a version of JavaScript with types, right? Now in reality, and by the way, it's created by Microsoft. So Microsoft say, okay, we're going to use JavaScript a lot, but we need types. And this is a debate of if it's good, is it bad, but at the end of the day, most companies use TypeScript because it's a little bit more secure when you're coding, right? Now, we are not learning TypeScript, we're learning JavaScript. So use TypeScript? No. So no TypeScript. If you want to start using TypeScript, next time you create a template, follow the same steps and you said yes, and then you have a template that has TypeScript, right? And you can learn TypeScript, it's really good. It's actually really easy to understand. It's the same as JavaScript, but with extra type definition. Like for example, let me give you an example of TypeScript. Remember the function to sum, right? You remember this? This is JavaScript. In TypeScript, I can write this same function. By the way, this works exactly like this in TypeScript. I don't have to do anything. Everything that works in JavaScript works in TypeScript, right? But if I want to make it, the problem with this function is I can do something like this, right? And this will be a mess because, first of all, A is not a number. Now, if I have to write this function in TypeScript, I will do something like this, number, and this function returns a number. Actually, I don't have to put this one, the last one, because it will be infer. That means that so now with this function, you see it's the same function, but now with this function, if I do sum of A and 4, this will be an error. Yeah, and I will see the error right there below the A and say, okay, this cannot be a string, right? It has to be a number.
Just because you add the data type, that makes it a type?
It needs, yeah, when you write the data type, it will enforce that you have the right data type. Playground TypeScript. You see? It's telling, okay, oops.
When the compiler knows it's wrong.
Yeah, it will say, okay, this is not assignable here, so right? And even the number, so the result, if I say C, and I hover C, it will say C is a number because it knows that is the result of a function that returns a number.
So that's all that it makes it a TypeScript.
This is TypeScript.
Just because it has number.
Yeah. Yeah.
So essentially 99% of it's still Java. It's just that.
Exactly. If you put this,
Signifying the data type.
exactly. If you put this, right, it's still fine, right? It's just the same. Okay, it could be anything.
Right. So it's like being more specific.
Exactly, and even with this, you can do something like this, right? And it will work. But check this out. I can do T. I can say, okay, this is a T type, and A is T, and B is T, and I will return a T.
If you're a web,
Sorry? Oh. Now, these two have to be the same type now for the function to work. You see? If they are not the same type, they will not work. So that's something extra from TypeScript. So there's a lot of things in TypeScript that we can use. But again, not the purpose of this.
The majority is all JavaScript.
Yeah, it's all JavaScript.
We should learn about TypeScript.
You should, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
All code bases in every company is using TypeScript. Everybody's using TypeScript. There's no debate around that. Probably 5 years ago, people were like, "Oh, maybe we should, maybe no. That discussion is no longer necessary."
That nextjs works like the Byte. I was using like Byte to practice.
It's kind of Byte, yeah. It's similar to Byte.
Kind of.
Kind of, it's similar. Now, next question is using ESLint, yes or no? I would suggest yes, because ESLint is basically enforcing rules.
That's the squiggly line, right?
Yeah, it's a squiggly line, but it's basically enforcing rules so your code is better, right? It's a code quality checker, right? By quality, remember I always tell you use triple equality instead of double equality. That's a common rule for ESLint. So when you write equals equals, that works most of the time. But because we have a rule in ESLint that says nobody should use double equality, then it will show some squiggly line saying there's an error here, right? So yes, I would still say yes, install it. Yeah, ESLint, good to go. Now, Tailwind CSS, of course, right? So Tailwind comes out of the box here. Nice, yes. Source directory, yes. Source directory is everything that is part of the source. So source code, everything that you write should be in that folder. That's a good rule to have. Some people don't like that. I don't know why, but it's kind of like easier to have your code organized, right? Because everything is inside source. So I would say yes to this. Now you have the app router, yes or no. It is said recommended because that's the one we're going to use. If you say no, then you will use the page router, but we're going to use the app router. And you would like to customize the default alias, add /yes, because this is basically when you have a big code base and you are importing more components from a different file, it will be easier because it will put an &/ and it will be easier to import. Instead of doing .. going back and forth, it will just be &/ and it will be the full route, right? So let's do yes here. What's the alias to be configured? Just hit enter there. We don't need to do anything there. And you see, it's installing everything. So you should see the files popping out on the left. A bunch of files. You have public, source, ESLint configuration. You have the git ignore, already set it up for this project. JSON config, Nest config, all the packages necessary, the Tailwind config. Everything is going to be there.
Downloading all the modules from the
Of course.
added 355 package.
So once it finishes, yes.
What is the meaning of import alias?
Um,
Can I put there?
Yeah. So import alias is, remember in other projects when we were importing components, and the import was like .. or .. something like that, right? So that's a relative import. Basically, when you have a bunch of folders, and you have a component here and the other component in some other folder, it will do .. It will be like a relative trying to find the component from one folder to the other, right? The problem with that is if you move the component to a different folder, that relationship gets broken. So an import alias is basically everything gets imported from the source folder, right? So everything is add / I don't know, components, / services, / I don't know, whatever folder, right? So it's an easy way to understand how the imports are coming from, basically that. You will see as soon as we create a couple components, you will see, oh, that's what import alias is, right? So now we have a project, okay? Let's run it. So to run it, of course, we need to move, again, inside the folder because we were outside the folder, so we have to do cd app.
Should we always update at the end?
That's a code spaces issue. Not sure that we need it.
It's a minor version anyway. Nothing.
Yes, no big. So I'm moving again into the folder, and here I can do npm run dev. So this is the command that we use to run the application locally. npm run dev.
So when we initially set up the template, it's inside of the root?
We were doing outside of this folder. So when we run that script, it was creating the inside. So it's going to create the files inside. But because I was out of the folder, I'm going into the folder again. You see CD app template, and now inside the folder, and inside there I can run npm run dev. And if everything goes well, you should see this in the app. Of course, we can just modify all that, and we will see what are the files created and everything. Okay, so.
They created a new readme too.
Huh?
They created a new readme.
Yeah, oh, but that's right. Yeah. Let me see what they have. Oh, it will give you instructions on how to run it. I think this is not working the way it's supposed to.
It
It's
is not.
not, no.
That's not what it's showing.
No, because the README is different, but if I try to read the preview, it's just the old README. That's so wrong. Yeah, that's wrong.
Oh, shady.
Okay, well, you have a new README as well. So let's make sure that your platform, your app is running with the default template. Oh, that's have it. Oh, here. You have it, right? Nice. Get it? Oh, yes. Wait, are you running it? Oh, you can run it as well. Okay. We're good? We're good from here? Wait,
Split. No,
Maybe
split.
right now.
Split it.
You have to do it
Now
again.
run local here too. So when you open your code, you got it next side by side.
Delete this folder.
You're in npm run dev.
Oh, you missed a lot.
Open up the browser.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all right. You're literally did you finish the county services stuff?
Aquí, so te,
Because your computer has to be on.
vas a hacer fuera cd.com.
What's the worst gonna happen? Disconnect the fucking deal.
Y ahí entonces haces.
But you saved everything?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Release. Creo que dice eso, ¿no?
They killing the power to the
App
buildings.
template.
I think tomorrow morning.
Ahorita se llama app template, that's good stuff.
So what you're doing, they work.
App dash template.
This is the matter. Tomorrow we have to go.
Yes.
Furniture.
Oh, I opted out.
Or group meeting.
Sí,
I opted out.
Group here.
It's too west for me.
Oh, yeah, that's east.
Yeah, that's way name.
Because when I get back from that. Do some of this. They take both schools and talk about how to do it.
Yeah, I can tell. I saw your face today.
No, I'll try that out for right here.
Emergency.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
I've got the bar graph appearing now.
Cool.
In the middle of the dashboard.
Claro,
Table
en
row.
una carpeta que se llama.
So I got it going,
No.
but I'm having difficulty
Yes,
now
yes.
making it pretty.
Told you, leave the red and blue.
No, it's not the red. But I want to learn how to do it because that.
We're gonna change the colors.
group-
No, of course. They're gonna
Yeah,
do
you go around with
Change
it.
the font.
Did you Google
Change
like
the
styling?
Falta de
styling
app
Google
chart.
chart?
Hay que ponerle ese nombre, lo voy a dejar. Sí, sí, sí. Aunque lo vamos vamos a hacer una sola vez.
Custom,
No, no, no,
but
no.
I'm
Okay, so we have the template working. Good. Now let's see what was created, right? Every file that was created here. Now these files on the root, they are all configuration files, right? The most important here are package, of course, because every Node project or every React project has this package, and you can see the dependencies here, right? All the packages that will be installed, all the developer dependencies, all the scripts. You see we have the dev script here. Every time we do npm run dev, what's actually executing is next dev. So this is the main file. We also have the nextjs configuration, JavaScript configuration, ESLint configuration, git ignore. You see everything is listed there. It doesn't go to GitHub. The new README, Tailwind configuration, and you can if you check Tailwind, it will tell you how to create your own colors, your own padding, etc. You can put all these configurations here. Now, in terms of folders, we have one main folder is the source folder. Now, inside that source folder is the app folder. You can see it there, app. This is the app router folder. Remember the app router? Now, inside that we have layout, right? Layout. And notice that layout is a component, it's a real component called root layout, right? Because it's in the root and it's the layout of the root. And it has an HTML tag and a body tag. And by the way, this is just to set the font, right? In this case, we're using, and that's the other nice thing about Next.js, already includes all the fonts from Google, right? So if you want to use a different font, I will import this font called Are You Serious? I know this font needs a weight. And check this out.
It makes everything.
Oh wait, that's not the font. Oh, Latins. Yeah, I need the Latin.
You made it cursive.
Oh yeah, you see it at the bottom. It's just that the other things are
Image.
icons and images. But you see the bottom image there? That's the font. Are you serious? I don't know. It's a weird font from Google. Right, so you have all the fonts right there on the tip of your hands. And actually there are a lot of fonts. Right? I like Lato. Yeah, Lato is nice. You've probably seen this font before. You see on the bottom? You've probably seen this in some websites. It was pretty popular in some time. I know I see them because I see a lot of websites using that font. But okay, adding fonts to your website is kind of easy now. Okay, so two things. We have the template, right? And we have the page. And this page, this is exactly what we're rendering now. What I usually do is delete all these things because of course my app doesn't need this. And I would just put
Just on pages. Everything within the first parenthesis.
there's a background somewhere. Wait, where is that background? Do you get something like this? Or am I crazy or what?
I got a black background. How come your black background's not black?
Check your globals.
Oh, there you go. That was it. That was it. Yeah, globals. Oh,
Oh yeah, that
Linear grading?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Where did you delete? Media and body, photo up now.
I'll delete stuff later.
Cool. Well, we have a page now.
You can go to the main page. It still says create next app.
Alright, so
I went to page and I deleted everything and I just left
No, they go.
my stuff.
A tab, todavía dice next. Create.
Oh yeah, because in layout you have that.
Oh, layout has it, okay.
It has the metadata for the page.
Oh, okay. I see.
You can modify. Yeah, the title of the page. My app.
Favorite icon, all that as well.
Yeah, it's up. You can find the documentation. Sorry. Oh, the page.
Oh, it's
Just a div. Yeah, I can even make a container mx auto. That'll be. Oh, I really like that RG series one. What's the George. What was the phone? Oh, that was nice. Let me keep that. Okay. Well, you get the idea. Cool. Okay, so now we have. Just clean it up a little bit, right? You clean it up the default content, and you get a template that. Questions before we move on to the next topic? Yes. Oh yeah, sure.
Your whatchamacallit page, what you're getting, using your global. Yeah, you should clean them up.
Alright, so this was, so you have this, where'd you have your hello on PC? Put that as part of the div?
Yeah.
Alright, so in my globals, under the body, I got rid of everything.
Oh, under the body?
Well, just whatever, you can put the body in whatever you want.
Yeah, see,
Look, see, like
see
mine,
like
just
the
put it all
background,
up here in
the global,
So you remove
body.
root?
No, go to the body. And I'm just gonna
See
get rid
that?
of that background. No, I left.
They got the RGB.
Yeah, I just left this one.
This is linear grading, so it's linear, so
There it's gone.
No, solamente escribe, no tienes que borrar.
You need to.
you need to close
it
your,
with
just
squiggly.
close the squiggly.
Tab 10.
Here.
No, ¿para qué dash? Ah, porque tú le pusiste dash.
And
That's the way.
he also changed something else.
Yes, yes, yes. 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 That's yes.
So these are imports the globals. Here. like, you have no idea. Actually, that's what I do the Excel sheet. Oh, you do, yeah. When you have an Excel that has Richard Lopez.
Okay, so we got the files, we got the template, it's working, everything looks good. So the first thing that we're gonna do for this template is git add, well, you can also do it here, and do a commit here. Initial template commit. So you're gonna send all these changes to GitHub. You can do it in the terminal, you can do it in the tool, in the VS Code, whatever, it's fine. npm run dev, that means that now if you go to your folder in GitHub, you should have a bunch of files with a README. That is really nice. You got it? All good? So that's your first template. It's a Next.js app. It uses Tailwind, JavaScript. It has Google Fonts already installed. By the way, it has also, Next.js has also Google like third-party extensions. Like for example, Google Analytics. It's just a package that you install and then you just use something that they have and you just put the the ID and that's it. It's tracking by.
That makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it's super.
When I used to use it every page, I had to copy the code.
Oh yeah, no, that's not go. Now let's start creating some pages, and see how we can link from one page to the other. Now let's create the About Us page, right? So this is the folder, the app folder, remember? And if we want to create an About page, we need to create a folder inside the app folder, right? We have the app folder, this is where all our pages will live. We can do About Us or whatever folder you decide to create, and then inside that you create the page.jsx. Okay? So let's do that. Oh, and by the way, notice a couple things. You don't need to put JSX, right? You don't need the X, and you don't need to import React. It's already handled. So here I will create new folder, About Us, and inside this one I will create a new file, page.js. Export function About Us. Return. Oh, export the file, by the way. Sorry. That's a little distinction. And here I will do return div About Us. Okay, now I will do something here for matter. Prettier. Oh shit, I don't have prettier here. Okay, let me stop prettier. And this is essentially to reformat it every time. So I installed this extension, Prettier, and you can configure it as the default formatter. And every time you save, it will reformat your code to make it look pretty. Right? So I created a new folder called About Us. And inside that folder, I created a page component, right? Now, these type of components, the only different with the regular component. These are pages, right? They're still React components, but these are pages. The only difference with another component is that this one we do export default, right? In the components, regular components, we use export. That's the only difference. Here is a page, we use export default. And what we get with this is that if we go to /about us, I will see my about us page.
Can you change the format again?
Oh, you have to. I usually type formatter,
You go to
format.
Settings.
Yeah, in settings. To open settings, command comma,
Oh,
command comma, that works, or control comma if you are in a Windows.
So that page, we don't have to use a capital letter
Yes, what do you mean?
in the name of the page.
It is. It is. Hopefully you've seen it.
Oh, sorry.
All React components have capitalized names. That's the same for every component. It doesn't matter if it's a page or a regular component. Capitalized name.
And we can use GSX. That
You
would
can
be-
use GSX, but you don't need to, right? And you don't need to import in React as well.
What did you put in the other page? You just call the component like normal?
What other page?
El otro,
The main page? This one? The same. Export default function home in this one.
here, okay.
And in my about us page is export default function about. The name of the component, it doesn't matter as much, right? Actually,
Are you going to the path on
the path is about us.
the browser, the tab?
Oh, right. You're right. So in the browser, I put about us. Because that's the page, right? About us. That's the name of the folder.
Teacher, and the export default, we can put it at the end of the page.
As well, but it's kind of unnecessary, right?
Okay.
If you have a function like this about us, and then you say export default
And the name of the
about
folder,
us, it's the same, right? It's exactly the same because it's a default export. But notice that this is kind of unnecessary. Just export default function about us, same thing. The name is not even important. The name is just a way to. It's just a way to identify that this is the about us page, right? That's the only problem with default exports, that the name is not important. But think about it. We will never import this component in anywhere.
It has its own page.
It's its own page, so nobody will be importing this component, right? That's why it's a default export, because there is a single component that whatever this page is exporting, that will be the component that this route will render. You got it? Good? Let's create another page. Folder. Let's call it login. For call function login.
I asked it because I used to use the snippet when you put RF.
Oh yeah, right.
They put
The
by
snippet,
default.
but the snippet is someone created that snippet, right?
Yeah.
And that was the way they use it, yeah. So here I will do an input, type text, well, email, I guess. No. Email. And then a label if I want to be correct with this. Let's start a little bit. So I guess if we do with full and age green. I guess that's. Oh, wait. I need some class here for border. Right, so kind of like a login. Oh, wait, how do I miss it? Button. Okay, let's see this page. So this will be in login, right? Flex call. Oh, this one should be flex. Oof. Oh, I know. Class. Read. Goals. Kind of. Not bad. Well, you get the idea, right? This is in the login page. And the other one is in the about page, right? So we're creating several pages. And we also have a root page. And you see that everything goes from app. So we have app, about us, that's one page, and inside has this page component. Yes, go ahead.
Every time you create a file, and then inside you put
A folder.
A folder. And then inside you put the
Page,
the page.
the page, yes.
So every page gets.
Its own folder.
It's like a component.
It's a component, yeah, exactly. Now, the nice thing about this is that in that same page, if you're using components, for example, if a page is using components that no other page is using, you can create inside this page, you can create a components folder. Now, components folder doesn't get, will not get a route, right? You can have a components folder, again. So this is the about us. Well, let's not do it here. Delete. Let me explain this. For example, login, right? Now, login, for example, check this out. Login page, my login page have this component. Let's call this login form component, right? No other page will use this, only the login page. Now, I can create a components folder inside here, and inside this components folder, create the login form, right? And here I would do export function login form, and I would use all this. Oh, not. Yeah, all this. Right? So this is my login form. Of course, it's not working, it's just a visual. But here I can say, okay, login form. And you see the import is relative to this page because it's in the same page. Now, they will not be, it will work exactly the same, by the way, right? Because it's just using a component now. But they will not be a slash login form route. That doesn't exist. It actually will be 404. Because the way this works is that it will only have a route if you have a page component inside. And because this components folder doesn't have a page inside, then it will not have a route, right? Everything that has a page has a route. So login, yeah, has a route because it has a page inside. If I, by mistake, put a page here, and I do this, of course, this is a mistake. It should not be do this. Right? That means that now components is a route. So I can do login slash components. You see? So everything that has a page has a route for that folder. So be careful with that.
The button code,
Which one?
the original code for the login page.
Oh, this one? Yeah, don't worry. I mean, I can share it with you in Slack.
Blue sky,
So it's easier. Oops,
blue sky,
not related.
I just needed the button. I have the rest.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so nice. We have different pages, but notice that so far I am going from one page to the other by writing the URL directly. How do we make links that work in the page? You can link, for example, from the main page. Using a tag, right? So now if I go to the root, I will have a link to login. You know, the only problem with Tailwind is that you have to basically style everything now, right?
That's your root page.
Cool. If I click here, I will go to. Oof. What did I?
You typed the word link.
I made the wrong. I made a. Oh shit. It's logging. It's just that I had link in my mind. That's why I put link. And you will see why in a minute. So if I go to from here to login, I will redirect them to the login. Same as a simple link, right? We know this. A link, you can link to a different page. So we can create links using A tags, anchor tags. That's known. Questions? Right? We can link. That's that's pretty common. And we can go from the about page. Just say we can link back. right? About us. I can go home. Typical link, right? We have multiple pages now in our application. Questions, questions, questions. Questions? Questions, questions, questions? You managed to put a link back and forth? We're just using a regular anchor tag, and that means that every time we link, we are reloading the whole page, right? And if you see if you open the inspector, right, and you start clicking on pages, you will see that it's loading the About Us page with all the code and a bunch of stuff. And then if we click back, it will go back and do a lot of stuff, etc., etc. Yeah, yeah. We're just using anchor tags. I'm adding some classes to make it look blue and over on the line, right? Because remember, Kelvin just removed all the styling. Great, great, great. Questions, questions, questions. All good?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing that we're going to do here is we're going to replace this anchor tag by a component that the library will provide for us. And that component name is link. Right? So instead of a tags, we will have a component called link. And notice that the import for link is this. Link from next link. And every page that we use a link, we will do this. Right? So instead of using anchor tags, regular anchor tags, we will use a link component. And this will work exactly the same.
Why the change?
And you will see why it changed right now.
So it can do certain things then.
You see that it's not loading anything now? And I can go through every page and it's not even hitting the network. You see what happened?
Wait, what?
That's great. Check it out again. Check it out again. When we had 8 tags, right? I will go back to the 8 tags. And here. Right? We have anchor tags. Okay, I will have anchor tags and see what happens.
Okay, so
If I go to the about page,
the network.
it will load everything for the about page, right? So basically the page and then the font and then the layout and then everything that this is basically JavaScript and then the favicon, everything will be loaded because it's loading a new page, right? Okay, if I go to home, you see it's loading everything from the home page. So it's loading a bunch of JavaScript, the layout, a bunch of JavaScript and the favicon and everything else. So if I go back and forth, every time I go back and forth, it reloads the whole page. Exactly, it's reloading the whole page. It's doing some browsing. It's navigating through the pages. That's fine. But it could be better. And the way to make it better is to use this link component. And with this link component, your page only loads exactly what it needs, nothing else, because everything else is already in the browser, it's already
It
cached.
utilizes the cache like crazy.
Exactly. If I go back,
So it's more
the page is already loaded. I don't need to load it again. You see? Now I'm going through these two pages without even hitting the backend.
So it's more efficient,
It's a lot more efficient, exactly.
less bandwidth and all that fun.
Exactly. See? Now I can go to any page and it's not even
So link is the thing that you use more for. Okay.
exactly. You see? That's the beauty of nextjs as well. So it's just doing browser routing, client routing. The URL still changing. You see the URL still changing. About us, if I go back, if I go to login, the URL still changes. But it's not hitting mostly nothing on the backend. Now, because it's developer environment and sometimes from time to time it's reloading just to see if nothing changed. But in a real life application, nothing will be loaded. It's kind of static. It's like already loaded, nothing needs to be loaded again. And that's using the link component. Same thing as we use the anchor tag. Instead of anchor tags, we use link. And it does exactly the same, but more efficiently. Now, this only works, of course, for pages inside my application. If I want to link to a different an external page, I just use a regular anchor tag, right?
What did they do at home?
Sorry, what?
The other link to go back home.
Yeah, oh, to go back home? Yeah, just a link.
So it is just a slash.
Yeah. Right. Questions? Questions? Okay, let's do one more. One more thing. So right now we have pages that we know are pretty much static. So we have slash, that's the root. Of course, this is a page for that page. We have login. And inside login, we have a components folder. Of course, the components folder will not get a route because it doesn't have a page inside. And we have about us, right? Now, for the login folder, we want to change how the layout of that page works, right? I might have some things on the layout here that I don't want. Like, for example, what if I put in the layout here, what if I put something like, let's say I have a div and I do width full, age full, and I put a background slate 50. Right? So check this out. In my main layout, so the layout that is at the root, I'm changing that layout and I'm putting, you see, oh, it should be screen here. I'm putting a grayish, let me make it green 100. In this case, I'm making it greenish, right? So just so you can see it. So you see that every page I go, it will have the same layout, right? Because it's the same, it's the root layout. So if your page doesn't have a layout, so if your route doesn't have a layout, it will go up, no layout, up, no layout, no up, and at the end you should have a layout. Always, you should have a layout, right? On the root. So it will use the layout at the root. Now, what if we want to change that for the login page? Because when I go to the login page, I want to have a different layout. So for that, we go to the login page and we say, okay, let's create here a layout. So that means we are going to create our own layout in that page. Now a layout, it's just, well, you can copy this, right? Of course, it's the root. So if you have fonts, you need to also put the fonts, right? So because remember, it will not reuse anything from the top layout. Okay? Actually, that's a mistake. It will actually use everything from the top layer. So what we're going to do here is to create a component for default function layer children Now I want to make this with full H screen, and I will use a BG white, right? Something like this. Oh, I assume that that was just using the layer, but no, it's going to use the parent layer as well. It's just that this will be intersected there, right? So it will be root layout, and then the component for the page. So you see it's white, right? But the fonts are still there. And actually, if I don't, let's make this an opacity 20. You'll see that it's still greenish, right? Because the other layer is already still there. Hopefully it makes sense. Yeah, because the width and height. Yeah, let's do it like this. Yeah. So again, we can change the layout. It's because of this. It's let me see, how can I make it? Okay, root layer. I will put it in a text. Okay? And you see root layer is still there. And then my layout for that page will have login, let's call it route layout. You see? So it's using, it seems complicated, but let's rethink it. So this component or this page is in the slash login page, right? So we have that component, this component in the slash login page, but that page also have a layout. So that layout will surround the whole thing. But then it will go up, and every layer in the parents, it will also include it. So all the layers from the parent will also include it. You see, root layer is there. If I go to About Us, the root layer is still there. But when I go to Login, Login has its own layout. So it will put the layout for the login, and then it will put the login page. Hopefully it makes sense, right?
You see the code to the root?
Sorry?
And the code they go by root?
Oh, it's root. The root is the one that you had before.
Right.
We didn't change. I only added this.
That's what I'm trying to show.
Yeah, I only added this and this thing, just to make it look different. Cool. Now, a couple more things before we take a break. First, Well, dynamic routes, we talk about them. You can use folders with specific numbering, like the number of the folder. So for example, if we have a users folder, right? In this case, will this users folder be accessible in the URL? If I open /users, should I see something?
No pages.
No, because it doesn't have a page, right? So if I do this, it will be a 404, right? Now, if I want users to have something inside, I should put a page. Now we want to make users / anything a page. For that particular case, we use a folder name with square brackets. Let's call it ID. Now, is this folder going to be accessible? No, it doesn't have a page file inside. As soon as I put a page inside, it will be accessible. So now export default function user page, right? Now here we have a params. Like, if I remember correctly, we had called something params. I made a mistake here. So let's put a div. Let me say user params.id. Right? So if we go to users / anything, there you go. So whatever is in the URL, whatever that ID is, I can get it from this params object, this param property, right? So you see params.id because ID was the segment that I got, right? That's what we call a segment. Yes? Oh, I thought you were about to ask a question.
No, I'm trying to figure it out.
Cool. So you see the folders are, in terms of folders, they are /app /users /something, right? And inside that something, if it's a page, because it has a page a page component. Now in the routing, this will get mapped to /users /anything. And that anything, I can get it with that params. Right? I can have more than one segment. Right? I can have some segments, for example, if I create a new folder here and I call it action. Right? And inside that action, I create another page. User, let's call it user action. Right? So I can say user params.id because it's part of the segment, and then I say params.action. So params ID is the segment for the ID. So instead of doing this, it will be ID action. So two segments. And this will be linked to the URL /users /something. The first, well, the actual way to put this is, it needs an ID and then it needs an action. Right, in this case, it's the ID. Right? And sometimes you will see this for example, you want user and the action is delete, and the action is promote, the action is share, the action is, I don't know, whatever action. Right? But notice that with this, I can open /users, like I say here, right? Or I can say, okay, /users /edit. And And now I go to the different page that has
Can you?
Yes.
Can you go back for me?
the code.
Yes.
Yes. Now, if I put params.action in a component that doesn't have an action in the path, I will get undefined.
So,
What?
in the name of the folder, we have to put the.
What do you mean? This the square brackets?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a convention of nextjs. That's the way you signify that that segment is dynamic. Could be anything. And you can get the value based on params. So params.id matches this ID, and params.action matches this. You just said if you made a mistake here, instead of action you put at, that will be undefined because there is no at, right?
User action.
Okay. Yes.
Can't put two folder with square under the user's ID.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Only one.
No, you can. Good question. I guess in some scenarios you might be able to.
But if you let's assume you put true, or will you be able to like the second parameter?
Yeah, that makes sense. What you're saying is that what if I put a new folder here called PA, right?
Yes.
And I do a new page here. Let's do false function. Right? What you're saying is this. Let's see it. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't know how to solve it. And if I go to the terminal, probably it's telling me, hey, you know what? Not possible. You cannot use different slot names in the same dynamic path. There you go. ID cannot be PA. Right? Makes sense. Makes sense.
An action is inside of ID.
No, it's just that PA is inside users, but we have ID and PA. You cannot have two slots. You cannot have two
Two dynamics
in the same folder. No.
So action is inside of the ID folder.
The action is inside ID.
So
In that case, yes.
I accidentally just did that. One day and I got the internal server error.
Yeah.
Okay, so action needs to go inside of. There we go. I wonder.
Yeah. So in this case, yes, I can do this. That works. Cool. Now the last thing I want to show you is routes, right? So routes, let's say in the login component, we can make a form, right? Remember the forms?
Is that a component folder some shit?
So what if we make a file here called route? Right? So we have a page and we can also have a route. We can have page, layout, route is a special type Sorry?
Can you use post as well, or?
Yeah. It could be get, it could be post.
Assuming that you want to security use post.
Yeah, it's whatever you decide to. And by the way, this can be an async function. So we'll get to that in next class. So what is this route? Is basically an API. So if we do login, well, wait. Not in log. Sorry, not here because this one has a page, so we cannot use page and route together. But let's do a new folder here and call it API, and move the route to that API. So now we have /login will have a page, and /login API will have a API, right? So we can do login, right? We have the login page, but if we do login/API, we have an API right there, right? Just by having a route.js file. So we can mix and match pages and routes. Of course, we tend to put all the APIs in a single folder, right? So you will see something like /folder API, and then inside here, login, and in that inside login, I will have this route. I'm reorganizing. No, it's just that I had it as, yeah, I'm reorganizing my APIs to be inside API. So API login, API something, etc., right? All my APIs will be together in the same folder, not scattered around, right? You can mix and match. The thing that you cannot have is a page and a route in the same folder, because the route and the page should do the same, essentially, right? So not good. But you can have them all in a single folder, so all the APIs will go there.
Now you do API /
Yeah, exactly. Now I can do API /login, and that will be served. This is a GET request, but if I need a POST request, right, I can do export async function POST request. Same file, because I can make we will learn about syncing in next class. So functions can be synchronous. By the way, all the functions that you've been executing so far are synchronous functions. That means that when you call it, you have to wait for them to finish, right? A synchronous function can be executed and just stay there for 2 minutes and then respond. And we will see how to react to those, right? Or how to treat them. So you see we have a GET and a POST request. The GET request you can make directly here. A POST request, how can we make a POST request? Oh, I know. We can copy this CURL, and this will be here, and we can say -x post. You see? Okay, true. Responded to true. The post request responded versus this one, that's the GET request.
Can you go back to the previous I was mentioned because or it show that they thing like API/login. Why does it show like that? Because when I look in the terminal, it's like you will do one for the API, after inside this folder there will be one for the login. Why does it show it?
Wait, what do you mean? We have app,
No,
we have API.
API/.
Login is a folder.
Yes, login.
And then inside we have route.
Yes. Why does it show it like that? It's
Oh, no, I understand. It's because there is nothing inside API.
oh.
That's the way it's rendered this. Because if you have a lot of folders, one folder after the other, and then at the end you have a file, it will show all the folders and then the file inside. It's just to simplify it. Cool. Okay, let's stop it there. I guess